Few artists in country music carry a reputation as warm and respected as Vince Gill. With a career spanning decades, countless hit songs, and an incredible 22 Grammy Awards, he has achieved nearly everything a musician could dream of. Fans admire his gentle voice, heartfelt lyrics, and the sincerity that shines through every performance. Yet behind the fame and fortune lies a life shaped by deep personal loss. Hidden beneath the bright stage lights are moments of grief, heartbreak, and resilience that shaped the man behind the music. A quiet beginning in Norman, Oklahoma. Norman in the late 1950s was a peaceful small town, far removed from the glamorous world of music stardom. It was here that Vince Gill spent his childhood, surrounded by the everyday rhythms of family life. Even though the town itself wasn't known for producing famous musicians, music was a constant presence in the Gill household. The evenings were slow and quiet, often filled with melodies rather than television noise. In that modest environment, young Vince discovered that music could bring people together and turn ordinary moments into lasting memories. The musical influence of his parents. Vince's father, J. Stanley Gill, worked as a strict and hard-working lawyer during the day. But once he returned home, his personality softened as he picked up his guitar or banjo and played bluegrass tunes on the porch. Music was his way of escaping the stress of work. Vince's mother, Jereen Gill, was equally musical. She loved singing and playing the harmonica, often harmonizing with her husband during late evenings. Their home was filled with songs about life, love, and loss, shaping Vince's earliest understanding of emotional storytelling through music. The first guitar and a spark of passion. When Vince was just 5 years old, his grandmother placed an old guitar in his hands. At first, the small instrument seemed almost too big for the little boy, and his fingers struggled to form the right chords. His first song was the classic country ballad, Old Shep. Though the notes were clumsy, something powerful awakened inside him. Music quickly became more than a hobby. It became a way for Vince to express feelings he couldn't yet put into words. From that moment forward, he knew that songs had the power to tell stories that touched people's hearts. Discovering many instruments. As Vince grew older, his curiosity for music expanded beyond the guitar. He learned to play the dobro, fiddle, banjo, mandolin, and bass. Each instrument offered a new way to communicate emotion and creativity. One of his early mentors, Julian Atkins, noticed the young boy's natural talent and helped guide his development. Atkins emphasized discipline and respect for music, reminding Vince that every note carried meaning. These lessons shaped not only his technical skill, but also the sincerity that would later define his career as one of country music's most respected performers. The brother who believed in him. Among all the influences in Vince's early life, one person stood out above the rest, his older half-brother, Bob Cohen. Bob was about 12 years older and shared Vince's love for music. The two brothers spent countless hours playing guitar together and singing along to songs on the radio. Bob understood Vince's shy personality and encouraged his dreams. To young Vince, Bob represented freedom and inspiration. More than anyone else, he believed that Vince's talent could one day reach audiences far beyond their hometown. Their first performance together. One of Vince's most cherished childhood memories happened when he was just 8 years old. He and Bob were invited to perform at a small local radio station, singing the lively tune Long Tall Texan. It wasn't a glamorous stage, just a modest studio with a microphone, but it felt magical. Vince was nervous, yet having Bob beside him made everything easier. That moment marked the first time he felt the excitement of sharing music with a larger audience. It was a small step, but it planted the seed of confidence that would later blossom into a remarkable career. A devastating accident life, however, rarely follows a simple melody. In 1967, tragedy struck when Bob was involved in a severe car accident at only 22 years old. The injuries were devastating. He suffered a serious brain injury and remained in a coma for 3 months. Doctors feared he might never wake up. Against the odds, Bob eventually regained consciousness, but the damage was permanent. Memory loss, communication difficulties, and chronic pain became part of his daily life. For Vince, who was still a young boy, watching his beloved brother change so dramatically was heartbreaking. Living with a different kind of loss. Bob survived the accident, but the vibrant young man Vince once knew was gone. The Gill family faced a painful reality, a kind of grief that stretched over years rather than arriving all at once. Vince watched his brother struggle with the lasting effects of his injuries. The experience left a deep emotional imprint on him, teaching him early about life's fragility. These experiences later influenced the emotional depth of his music. Many listeners would eventually feel the quiet sorrow woven into his songs, unaware that it came from very real memories. The final goodbye decades later, tragedy returned when Bob died suddenly in 1993 at the age of 48, due to complications related to his earlier injuries. By that time, Vince Gill had already become a successful country music star. Yet fame offered little comfort in the face of such loss. The brother who had once stood beside him during his first performance was gone forever. Vince later admitted that even though he had felt the loss gradually over the years, the final goodbye was still incredibly painful. It was a moment that reminded him how fragile life truly is. Finding healing through music. After Bob's death, Vince struggled deeply with grief. Friends noticed that he withdrew from the public eye for a while, trying to process the loss privately. Music once again became his refuge. Writing songs and performing helped him channel emotions that were too overwhelming to express in ordinary conversation. Over time, his work began reflecting themes of compassion, heartbreak, and healing. These qualities helped make him one of the most beloved voices in country music, known not only for technical skill, but for the sincerity that listeners could feel in every note. Facing new challenges later in life. Even in later years, life has continued to test Vince Gill. As he entered his late 60s, he faced health concerns of his own and worries about loved ones. The music industry around him also changed rapidly, sometimes prioritizing image and quick entertainment over emotional storytelling, yet Vince remained committed to authenticity. He believed that music should come from real experiences and honest emotions. That belief helped him stay true to his roots, even as trends shifted around him. Conclusion: a life of pain, strength, and song. The story of Vince Gill is not simply about fame or awards. It is about resilience. Beneath the achievements lies a man who has faced loss, heartbreak, and uncertainty, yet continues to share music that comforts millions. His journey reminds us that even the most successful artists carry unseen struggles. Still, Vince Gill keeps singing, proving that music can transform pain into something meaningful. His life shows that no matter how difficult the journey becomes, there is always another song waiting to be written and another chapter waiting to begin.